A lot has happened since the end of One Punch Man Season 2, not just in the manga, but in the real world as well.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
It's been almost 5 years after all, so the manga has had plenty of time to leave anime watchers in the dust. We're going to help you out with that though, because this series is too hyped to wait 5 years between seasons. This is everything that happens after One Punch Man's second season ends.
Yes, very sad.
So you're ready to see it all when Season 3 eventually makes it to the light of day. The season ended with Saitama defeating Kentichoro, boosting himself all the way into the B rank hero numbers.
Not bad, not bad.
Meanwhile, Garou was going all out and surpassing his limits, fighting hero after hero as they ganged up on him. By the end of the season, he was battered and bloody, but saved from the heroes by Phoenix Man, a member of the Monster Association.
What?
Phoenix brings him back to their big hideout in City Z, now a mostly deserted ghost town, thanks to the frequent monster appearances, other than the resident heroes, of course. Saitama and King are hanging out at Saitama's place while Genos debriefs, though eventually, Genos, Bang, and Bomb all end up coming over and crowding the apartment. Even more annoying, they're interrupting Saitama's training to defeat King at a Pokemon ripoff. They eventually start talking about what happened, with Genos informing them about the fallout of Garou's battle with the other heroes. Metal Bat, Death Gatling, and the other heroes he fought are all in bad shape. Saitama feels partially responsible, knowing that he could have stopped the hero killer. Eventually, he vows to go out on patrol and find him, leaving the others behind. Of course, he gets hungry after a few hours out and stops in at a restaurant for food, without realizing he forgot his wallet at home.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Back at the Hero Association headquarters, all the bigwigs are in chaos. The monsters manage to kidnap a child.
Oh no!
Even worse, it's the child of one of the Hero Association's major donors. That means they want the heroes finding his son ASAP, but that's just not going to work. Child Emperor is scouting the leftover tunnels from Sentikoro down below the city, trying to find the monster base with little luck. Meanwhile, the other S-Class heroes are being gathered for a raid, though some have their own ulterior motives going in. Drive Knight went to investigate City Z on his own and disappeared as well, so they're down yet another hero. The exec, knowing that the heroes aren't going to get his son back right away, buys some major battle suits off the black market and gives them to an elite team of soldiers, sending them down into the tunnels to find him.
I don't like where this is going.
Deep below the surface of City Z, in the Monster Association, Garou wakes up. He's not sure where he is, but he can tell his body has changed since the beginning of his fight against Bang. His hair has even turned a different color, leaving him to question if he's human or monster anymore. As he walks out of his room, trying to find food, he notices the other monsters busy in a meeting. Goro, the nipple-armed monster who's been inciting all these problems, is speaking, waiting to hand down the judgment from King Orochi. Orochi himself is already there, a massive giant, towering over everyone in the room. The elite team of soldiers found them, and now the monsters are busy arguing over who gets to eat them first.
I'ma eat it.
Eventually, they're claimed by Dues, a whip-wielding monster who can make anything she hits become hopelessly loyal to her. The whole team is transformed, essentially killed, as there's no going back.
Fuck.
After that issue is settled, Goro brings Garou into the room, telling him that if he wants to be a monster, he's welcome to try joining their ranks based on his time as the hero hunter. They give him 2 days to prove himself as a monster, dismissing him back to the surface without elaborating further on what that means. Goro doesn't trust him on his own though, sending 2 of the Monster Association's most gruesome to keep after him. King the Ripper and Bug God are given the command to follow, making sure he doesn't show weakness when it comes down to it. Unfortunately, they're also some of the more bloodthirsty monsters, and won't just leave Garou alone when following. Concerned with getting a good meal though, this man walks right into an American-themed steakhouse in the middle of Japan, a place serving American-sized portions, and ordered everything on the menu.
I'm hungry.
In a minute!
Unfortunately for him, he doesn't have any money to pay for it, and the restaurant has heroes on duty to deal with dine and dashers. Though these heroes aren't going to have the chance to chase after him thanks to another hero present, Saitama is at the same restaurant without his wallet, and he didn't realize it until after he was done eating.
Are you fucking dumb?
Now he knows that a dine and dash will get him in big trouble. Suddenly, his savior appears in the form of Hellish Blizzard, demanding that he join her Blizzard bunch. The bald hero thinks deviously, ordering a plate of fries and offering one to Blizzard. She eats it, immediately falling for the oldest trick in the book as Saitama demands that she pay the bill. Just then though, Garou begins his attempt at dining and dashing, making it out of the restaurant. Saitama sees an even more surefire way to get out of his predicament and follows, screaming some nonsense about how a hero is going after the dine and dasher, even though he was doing the exact same thing now and sticking Blizzard with the bill. Oh, and he leaves his bag of cabbage he had gotten earlier behind, so there goes his plan for a hot pot dinner. Saitama follows Garou a few miles before yelling at him for a moment about how he shouldn't have done that, though even he recognizes the hypocrisy in his words. After Saitama leaves, Garou runs across the same annoying kid from the day before, running off another kid that was trying to bully him. That's all that Ripper and Bug God need to see, revealing themselves to Garou and declaring that he's not built like them. Then Ripper attacks, unable to hold back his bloodlust. Garou goes toe-to-toe and does some awesome damage on Ripper, telling the kid to run, before he starts taking on Bug God as well. He's in the process of winning too, before things go wrong.
Nah, I'd win.
Hydro Jelly appears from the trees nearby, with the kid as his captive. Garou has to pause here, unable to figure out how to get the kid free, and that's when Ripper and Bug God see their chance. They go in, slicing Garou brutally, and leaving him for dead on a playground.
He's already dead.
Meanwhile, this kid gets taken back with them as a prisoner for Ripper to play with. Saitama makes it back home in the meantime, starting back into his games with King, and eventually starts to get tired of all the people in his apartment. Geno senses someone incoming though, noting that he, Bomb, and Bang are unable to fight in their current state. So, he forces King out, unaware that he's one of the greatest frauds in shonen history.
Okay.
King barely makes it out of the door before their new company steps in, wearing a huge mech suit and carrying a massive load of parts. Everyone is ready to fight before he puts his hands up, revealing himself as Genos' creator, Dr. Kusuno. This poor man has a haircut that would make Vector jealous, and he's proud of it.
Oh, poop.
Saitama is reaching his limit with all the people in his house though, especially when Hellish Blizzard shows up almost immediately after Kusuno does. She brings his cabbage that was left behind at least. Meanwhile, Kusuno brought all of Genos' new parts to help get him repaired, and even brought a gift for Saitama as thanks for taking care of Genos.
Arigato.
This present, a package of very fine grade beef, quickly gets turned into a hot pot that Saitama unwillingly has to share with the unwanted guests of his house. Back at Hero Association, the leaders of the raid being planned aren't getting along. Atomic Samurai starts a fight with Amai Mask, Metal Knight, and Child Emperor end up calling off some S-rank heroes like Genos, and Puri Puri Prisoner is being let loose to go after Nian, the monster cat.
What the fuck? Is that a fucking cat?
Tensions are rising all through the place, and this raid is going to be one of the most chaotic things to ever be animated.
And I can't wait to see her naked.
They already have Tornado, Darkshine, and Child Emperor signed up for the raid, and eventually decide they're going to pad their numbers with a lot more A and B rank heroes, notably Saitama. At his place, he's finally able to run off all the heroes who don't live there, except King, who somehow got knocked out cold during the fight over the hot pot. When they wake up the next morning though, Saitama lets him know that it's time to clear out, and that he'll see him later. The Hero Association starts to catch up with the other Class S heroes they haven't been able to reach, with two agents finding King right outside of Saitama's apartment. They start out annoyed that they haven't been able to get his attention, but once they see the red stains from the hot pot dinner, they go the total opposite way. The agents believe that these are stains of blood and gore from heated battle, not a dinner gone wrong, and start freaking out about how he must have been locked in intense battle with a monster all night. For any watching this without watching the last two seasons, King is the best long-running joke in the series. When danger is near, he revs what they call the King Engine, which is usually enough to scare enemies before he has to unleash his massive power. In reality, he's an unpowered putz who has no strength at all. The King engine is just his heartbeat, thudding in terror at what the latest monster may do. The poor guy is in far, far over his head. Garou, meanwhile, is back to the world of consciousness.
Welcome back to the land of the living.
Even after almost having a nice dirt nap in the park. He's gone through another transformation, his hair turning red along with one of his eyes, and he's planning on freeing the kid, Tario, who got abducted during his fight. Garou makes his way back down into the tunnels, fighting his way through whatever monsters end up coming at him while he infiltrates the Monster Association, while Tario is taken by Ripper to his room for playtime. Tario gets lucky though.
Yeah, lucky me.
Because as Ripper starts to, well, do his ripping routine, cornering him in a room, Garou rips the door from its hinges and starts doing some ripping of his own. It's satisfying as hell too, because Garou literally slices this guy into pieces using nothing but his martial arts skills. And after the monster is left in a pile on the floor, Garou starts moving Tario out of the room and back to the surface. In another part of the Monster Association's lair, Goro is explaining that he himself is the one who made the great monster king Orochi, who was once himself a human. Apparently, pushing a human to the brink of death multiple times further strengthens them, allowing them to push past their limits and monsterize to powerful results. Orochi is supposedly the only truly successful specimen that made it through this, but Goro is planning on getting his second mega monster in the form of Garou, who he plans to keep pushing past the brink. That's not happening in the tunnels though, as Garou tears through any monster that brings them trouble on their escape. Unfortunately, one of those finally ends up being a boss monster, one of the strongest in the association, a giant dog, overgrown Pochi, who definitely doesn't want to play fetch.
Stupid dog! You made me look bad!
They figure out that not acting suspicious is one way to get past the creature, but it's not enough to move past the three other monsters waiting just around the corner. Unihorn, Mega Rat, and a living showerhead. They may not be the most dangerous combination, but they do end up giving Garou a little run for his money before screwing the entire situation for everyone. The fight isn't going in their favor, so the three monsters combine their powers, launching Unihorn at ridiculously high speed. Garou flashes back to his fight with Sting though, dodging the incoming person spear with ease by just stepping to the side. Unfortunately, he forgets what's behind him, and when Unihorn's mangled body is thrown back through the hallway, everyone knows that trouble is imminent.
I'm in danger.
He hit Pochi, and now the dog is off the leash. Not much other choice left but to fight, and Garou gives it a damn good try as Pochi charges up a huge blast. He's able to give him a good hit, but the dog just won't stay down, charging up an even greater beam and Garou head on as he tells Tario to run. The intense energy of Pochi's blast rips through the hideout, sending Garou falling through to the bottom, where Goro is waiting for him. Time for a villainous monologue as Garou is still able to stand and face the leader of the monsters. Goro explains that he's used many humans to try and perfect the method that made King Orochi, but that most don't survive being pushed past the brink of death so frequently. Orochi was the first he found that could do it, and though he had hoped Garou would be able to embrace becoming a monster, he wasn't going to be able to put his humanity aside. Goro pulls out his psychic abilities, stunning Garou and holding him in place. Despite his massive strength though, Garou's adaptability is something even more astonishing. The human begins to break through the psychokinesis, resisting the binding power it has on him. So much so that he's even able to land a good hit on Goro, jumping from his grasp and vowing to destroy the Monster Association from the inside right then and there, but is interrupted by the massive hand of Orochi reaching through the floor to grab him. As strong as Orochi may be, Garou holds his own, even managing to kill a lot of other monsters as they fight throughout the hideout. The battle is close, but eventually Orochi reveals his ace. He can learn and copy other fighting styles, taking on Garou's in order to deliver a finishing blow that knocks out the hero hunter once more. Goro demands that Garou be kept alive though, and vows to brainwash him in order to turn him into an obedient servant that he can mold. Meanwhile, the fight below was felt up on the surface.
What was that?
And smoke is billowing from a sewer entrance as Saitama walks by. The bald cape takes notice, opening up the grate and dropping down into the sewers to see if he can figure out what's going on. The pieces begin to fall into place for the raid on the Monster Society as heroes back at Association headquarters begin to gather and brief themselves, unknowing that Saitama is going to throw off any plans they may have.
What the fuck, bro?
The raid team has finally shaped up, with Tornado, Darkshine, Flashy Flash, Zombie Man, Pig God, Atomic Samurai, Child Emperor, and Puri Puri Prisoner talking about what they're going to face in there. Everyone has had some run-in already with the monsters. That's not going to be enough to get them through this fight though, because the monsters are hiding a ton of wild secrets. Luckily, the heroes will have a few wild cards on their side, with Saitama finding his way into the tunnels, assuming that the S-class heroes can get along, of course.
I hope so.
Tornado is insisting she'll finish things instantly, while the others are just trying to get her to use some form of teamwork. Then, of course, the idol hero Amai Mask has to butt in and start barking orders. Despite being an A-rank hero with no business being there, he almost comes to blows with Flashy Flash, but at the last second, King makes his late entrance. They're all appalled by how filthy he is, stinking and covered in the hot pot from the night before.
You're a bitch.
Before he can explain himself though, the agent with him starts talking about how he was fighting off monsters for the entire night, embellishing his story yet again. If King has one power, it's luck. They believe it too, with everyone giving him some kind of reverence despite the fact that he's basically pre-1 for all Deku levels of weak. Doesn't matter though, because that King engine is humming loud and the others are taken by him. Even Amai Mask ends up stepping aside out of respect for King, which not only makes the gag about him funnier, but honestly brings into question if King doesn't have some sort of power. After the meeting finishes, King tells the group that he's going to go on ahead and take up point, while trying to find a way out of the Hero Association HQ. During his multiple failed attempts of checking behind doors though, he ends up running into Bang and Bomb again. Despite Sekengal and Sitch, the higher-ups in charge of the raid, telling him that Bang isn't supposed to know about it, King tells them anyway, knowing he stands no chance alone. They make an arrangement to meet at Saitama's place, gathering with him and Genos before heading down to the Monster Association below the city. Before Sitch can ask King any more questions, the fraud hero runs out without a word, hustling his way home. They all manage to get to Saitama's place at the same time, though they can't find him anywhere. Genos notes that his costume is gone, meaning he's probably out on patrol. Blizzard says that they should go on without him, but she would feel better if Saitama was there to help.
That is an outstandingly stupid idea.
After a few minutes, they come to the conclusion that King, Blizzard, Bang, and Bomb decide to head off to the Monster Association hideout. Meanwhile, Genos will stay at the apartment and wait for Saitama, who we immediately see roaming the tunnels below. Some say Genos is still waiting. Finally, the time for the raid arrives. Everyone meets up in City Z, all the S and A rank heroes gathering at the entrance point Child Emperor found. Unfortunately, the monsters were expecting them, and a ton of tiger and demon level threats are lying in wait for an ambush. The A-rankers are able to hold their own pretty well though, with Atomic Samurai's apprentices being some of the first to lead the charge. Though they're all strong in their own way, the A-heroes eventually start to get worn down by the sheer amount of monsters. A couple of S-rank heroes step in instead to help, with Atomic Samurai and Darkshine showing their immense power off to amazing results. The A-ranks make an opening for them, and the S-heroes jump right in, beginning the hostage search. Though Pig God needs a little help getting through thanks to his massive size. Near the bottom of the hideout, a bunch of monsters who ran from the fight above are being scolded by Goro, who crushes them all down together in a cube with his psychic powers before feeding them to Orochi. The executives of the Monster Association are standing by for orders, though most of them are pretty indifferent to following any they may get. Goro instructs them to go take on the S-class heroes while killing any they come across, leading everyone to split. They all get a few scenes showing off powers, with Darkshine blasting enemies apart without even meaning to, Child Emperor's machines obliterating foes, and Tornado crushing anyone with intense psychic powers. Child Emperor even finds a severely destroyed metal knight suit and worries that the monsters are gleaning information from it, taking some pieces along with him. He hasn't gone far before Phoenix Man attacks though. This guy is mouthy, too, constantly going on about how he's just using the other monsters for his own means, saying he's one of the smartest.
I am the smart. I am the smart.
Really just tooting his own horn relentlessly.
What the hell are you talking about?
Who you talking to?
The monologue comes back to bite him in the ass when he attacks Child Emperor head-on, running into an invisible film barrier that was set up while he was yapping. With Phoenix Man stunned, Child Emperor cuts him to shreds with his mechanical tools, showing that he's definitely ruthless despite his age. Before long, Waganma, held captive in his cell by the hydro jellyfish that abducted him, is surprised to see a frog hop right in. The frog jumps on his face, attaching itself to cover his mouth. Turns out, it's one of Child Emperor's gadgets, a gas mask that keeps Waganma safe as he gasses the monster, freeing the boy in the process. Now, they just have to find their way out. He believes Waganma when the kid says there were no other prisoners. Tareo, of course, is off on his own somewhere, separated from a now unconscious Garo and likely lost, but no heroes are aware of his presence down there. Second, as they attempt to leave though, Hydro Jellyfish strikes once more, revealing he couldn't be killed by the gas used. He tries to absorb Child Emperor, who promptly reveals the gas had another effect and lights him on fire from the inside out. Flashy Flash is the first of the heroes to come in contact with monsters, as Hellfire Flame and Gale Wind attempt to ambush him. It's unsuccessful, as the S-rank hero is aware of their presence though, and quickly shows them their difference in power even after they go into a full monsterization state. The two monsters attempt to reason with Flash, telling him they can point him towards the crime lords he's been tracking down. Except Flash has a reveal of his own. He's already killed them all in secret before the raid, ensuring they couldn't take advantage of the chaos. Their ninja skills are no use, and Flash takes them out in one slice, though he also drops his transmitter from Child Emperor in the process. Child Emperor and Waganma are trying to make their way out when danger finds them. Machine God G5 appears, attacking the children with intent to kill.
The children we can sell!
Child Emperor pulls out his own guard dog though, a humanoid mecha called Underdog Man who keeps G5 busy as they run. Unfortunately, they don't get far before finding Phoenix Man's corpse in a heap on the ground, slashed to bits. It seems like they've gotten lucky, especially because he was a higher-ranking executive in the Monster Association. Then Waganma mentions that the body is wearing a costume based on Donkin Bird, a show he watches. According to the kid, this bird dies in every episode in some slapstick way, only to resurrect like nothing ever happens for the next one. Child Emperor realizes too late what's about to go down, as Phoenix Man literally rises from the ashes into a brand new, more badass form. Child Emperor doesn't have much choice when it comes to fighting him, because his new and improved beak attack breaks through 5 layers of the film that stopped him earlier. It was still powerful enough to cause damage to Child Emperor after that, so normal attacks aren't going to do anything to this guy. Child Emperor summons the Brave Giant, a mech suit that's even stronger than the Underdog Man robot they left behind. It can fire massive beams, holds a ton of weapons, and gives him near invincibility against run-of-the-mill monsters. Phoenix Man isn't run-of-the-mill though.
Oh, really?
During their battle, Phoenix Man takes the full force of Brave Giant's attacks, sending all 3 of them through the floor and down to the bottom of the Monster Association hideout, all the way down to where Flashy Flash just defeated Hellfire Flame and Gale Wind. Phoenix Man restores himself yet again, demonstrating that he's far beyond their reach now as he even revives the 2 fallen ninja.
We do not care.
His beams are no match for Phoenix Man's armored skin, so Child Emperor develops another tactic, noticing that the bird parts of the monster are still, effectively, a suit he's wearing. He transfers a tickle bug, which crawls up Phoenix Man's sleeve and begins tickling him relentlessly. Turns out the one thing strong enough to destroy the suit is Phoenix Man himself, as it begins to tear away, exposing his weaknesses. Child Emperor launches another huge beam, knocking out the beast for good. He gathers up Waganma, again clarifying with him that he's the only hostage down here after he hears Phoenix mention another prisoner. Waganma, again, lies to him, like father, like son. They head off, with focus switching to another S-rank hero that we haven't seen much of, Zombie Man. He's invincible, able to regenerate at an insane rate of speed no matter the injury. His fight isn't so much a battle as it is a massacre, because he follows a bunch of monsters into one room only to be attacked by Vampire. The ancient creature gloats about being a real monster, saying his healing ability is superior to Zombie Man as he only has to drink blood to maintain his life. He's wrong. These two have a standoff where Zombie Man beats him senseless, finally killing the ancient creature while still regenerating from whatever attacks he takes. It's a rough fight, and he doesn't have super strength to back him up, but Zombie Man pulls through, the rest of the monsters staring in awe. Before he can leave though, they vow to kill him now that he's weakened, saying they would have done the same to Vampire if he won. Zombie Man stands, walking to the door as if to leave. They tell him he can't get away, but realize too late when he literally locks himself in with them.
You are locked in here with me.
30 minutes later he emerges, wounds beginning to heal, as there's nothing but corpses shown in the doorway behind him. The ultimate badass. He gets the message on his transmitter from Child Emperor that the kid is safe, realizing that they're now no longer in rescue mode, but cleanup mode. He lights up a cig, shoulders his weapon, and sets off to bring more carnage. Atomic Samurai's apprentices are fighting off Do S and her whipped team of mercenaries a little further into the hideout, though struggling to dispatch the mercs without doing any serious damage. Things seem dark when Amai Mask shows up to help, sending them on their way, before revealing that he's almost as much of a monster as any of the association members.
Fuck this guy!
This man is supposedly an idol in Japan, adored by millions for playing the great pretty boy in public. Here, he's tearing human and monster apart with his bare hands, giving no sympathy to the brainwashed mercenaries. It only takes a few minutes for him to totally destroy Do S, along with the entire team. Even as she begs him to let her live, he shows no mercy. If you have a moment, make sure to show us some mercy and hit the like button. It really helps us to keep making awesome anime content every week. Further down the hall, Atomic Samurai's apprentices run into another terrifying sight. Pig God sitting in the dark, devouring the monster known as Big Eater. It looks like he took him in one bite too.
Want a bite? Sure.
The manga panel here looks like some nightmare Junji Ito would create. They realize they don't want to go past that monstrosity right now, so instead cut through the floor to get deeper into the hideout. On the way down, they get attacked by Devil Longhair and struggle to keep up against his enchanted locks. Meanwhile, elsewhere once again, Puri Puri Prisoner is putting up one hell of a fight and scaring the absolute crap out of every monster he comes across.
But the thing... it scares me.
This man is insane, thinking everyone is going to fall in love with him if he's not careful. It's honestly kind of creepy, and he definitely needs to be on a watch list. Nevertheless, he continues on, fighting monsters until he finally hears the voice of his fellow prisoners, moving in to save them from Nyan, the cat monster. The battle with Nyan is intense, and the cat can slip in and out of the smallest cracks in the walls to escape. Puri realizes that his fellow prisoners aren't going to come back until Nyan is dead, while also unlocking his own new powers of bristly body hair armor to protect against the cat's attacks. His entire vibe freaks Nyan out though, and instead of staying to fight, he runs off through cracks in the walls, trying to reach the surface.
Why?
Puri Puri Prisoner isn't letting that slide though, and develops a whole new move to follow. Using his new bristly hair, he does the angel crawl through the floor, protecting his body while smashing through stone with his intense strength. Oh, and he squashes all the prisoner monsters while first trying it out, leading him to rage after Nyan for revenge, even though it was kind of his own fault.
It's your fault, Marty!
He follows Nyan for a time, attempting to fight, but the cat only continues to flee, leading Prisoner to resume his search for more monsters below. Darkshine, meanwhile, is confronted by Bug God, who boasts about how strong his shell of armor is. Not strong enough, considering Darkshine obliterates him in one punch, even after he transforms. Some god he was. Saitama is wandering the halls below when he comes across overgrown Pochi, who attempts to fire off at him the same way he did at Goro. Saitama wants nothing to do with it though, and just one punch sends him flying, even making him obedient to Saitama.
There's a good dog.
That gets the attention of Nyan, who passes through, attempting to assassinate Saitama as he passes, only to get nearly obliterated by one punch. Instead of staying for that fight, he takes off running, going toward the surface. Goro is wondering what to do about Saitama's presence when Tornado finally shows up.
Finally!
challenging him to battle. Their psychic powers clash hard, with Goro even changing form to try to escape at one point, before switching off to another scene. Blizzard, Bang, and Bomb are walking through the tunnels, feeling it shake from all the battles going on. Blizzard mentions that Tornado's energy is out there somewhere, sensing her fight with Goro. Then the scene changes again, showing that everyone separated, with the other three going one way while sending King off on his own. Now the poor guy is just hoping to find Saitama, but it doesn't seem like he's going to. Suddenly, Waganma bursts around the corner, running toward King, who immediately tells him to back off, more terrified than he could ever be. The King engine starts up, beating loud to where Waganma can hear it, only to reveal that it's actually a monster in disguise. The thing gets so scared it literally melts away, dying of fright as King is doing the same right across from him. That problem solved, he keeps on moving down the hall, back to Saitama, who's now emerged in the center of the hideout where Orochi resides. The Monster King faces down the bald cape. Orochi seems excited too, noting Saitama's massive power level, even comparing him to a monster himself.
Monster!
To which Saitama doesn't react. Most of the fight is just Saitama dodging around, avoiding the massive dragons that start growing from Orochi's horns. The Monster King has already evolved again since his fight with Goro and seems eager to keep up the power creep he's got going on. He launches attacks fast, making Saitama move more than he has in any fight so far, but it still ends up being anticlimactic as ever. One punch and the Monster King is obliterated, falling in pieces to the ground below. Goro actually sees Orochi's broken head at the worst time, as Tornado has destroyed his main body, now getting ready to crush his head as he lies in the rubble. She's taking no mercy in the fight, and Goro begins to beg for his life while lining up his remaining remote-controlled eyes for a last-ditch effort. It fails though, and Tornado rips his real body from his head, crushing it in the process. Somewhere else, Atomic Samurai's apprentices have defeated the Devil Longhair, though they end up running across another dangerous monster as another runs from them, spilling out the living water and Dr. Fish from a container in a nearby room.
Don't pee on the floor, use the Commodore.
Unable to cut the water, the disciples fall one by one with no hope of fighting back. Atomic Samurai, meanwhile, is tearing through monsters like they're nothing. His blade slices everyone, no holding back, and he quickly cuts through Machine God G5 despite his boasts of knowing his fighting style. Unfortunately, G5's power core is made of a denser material than expected, and Samurai was unable to cut through it. While he launches a last air blade at the robot, it disappears, with Samurai choosing to continue on instead of pursue it. Which is good, because he comes across Tareo, still lost in the hideout, being chased by Black Sperm. That's his real name, and he's very dangerous. Samurai manages to slice him in half, saving Tareo, but makes a fatal error while doing it.
Holy fucking shit.
Black Sperm's power is to divide himself into multiple, smaller versions of himself without losing power or intelligence. Each split is a perfect copy, just a little smaller, and all of them can combine to grow to massive size. Now at the surface, the child is safe. Nobody responds for a minute, making Child Emperor believe that the others may be in trouble or dead. After a moment though, everyone begins to pour congratulations on him, lauding him for a job well done and telling him they're good on their end. Though it gets really awkward when Samurai radios in that he's found another kid down there. Child Emperor confronts Waganma about his lies, telling him that he's endangered everyone, not just Tareo, with his lies. He has no choice but to go back again, helping to find the other child and clean up the remaining monsters. Before they can do that though, Neon emerges from the one remaining hideout entrance. He takes down nearly every remaining hero on the surface. Some of the A ranks stay up, putting up one hell of a fight with some like Gearspur, even putting out intense attacks. It's not enough though. Suddenly, help appears. Drive Knight arrives and begins to battle the cat monster, though some of his powers prove useless.
Useless crap like that.
As Neon can enter the cracks of his armor. He's resourceful though, changing his armor to a special mode and fooling Neon into entering it. From there, he heats it up, cooking the cat with intense power.
Ah, that's hot.
That's hot.
Everyone celebrates with Waganma safe once more, but then things immediately turn bad again. Drive Knight's battery is drained, and G5, barely together but still dangerous, walks out of a nearby alleyway to kill the kid. There's next to no hope, with nobody in any condition to fight. Just when G5 is about to fire off a deadly blast, something blasts him, destroying the armor he's in and revealing his true form. Genos hops out of nowhere, new demon arms blazing with weapons, and cracks the true form of the machine god as well. Although he's changed his form, Demon Cyborg says he still recognizes the terrible android that destroyed his town long ago. With that taken care of, Sekengal gets filled in by Drive Knight about what's going on. The hero explains that he disappeared in City Z to gain intel, mapping out the Monster Association, gaining intel on the executives, and learning everything he could. His reasons for not contacting the Hero Association, though, were that he didn't want a mole to intercept it. Turns out, Metal Knight is the one that betrayed them, and his suit was there because he purposely let it loose to the monsters so they could take it. Dr. Beaufoy, the real Metal Knight, is the one that built the entire Hero Association, and he wants to rule it. Even teaming with the monsters isn't below him as long as he gets what he wants. Sekengal doesn't believe it at first, but he trusts Drive Knight. The S-Class hero says he's going to go back in after recharging his weapons, helping to clean out the last of the Monster Association. Elsewhere, down below, Zombie Man is attacked by Homeless Emperor, a monster who can shoot massive beams of light. He does one hell of a number on Zombie, making his healing powers work overtime, and begins to monologue about how a few weeks ago he was just a salaryman. At a company party, his boss told him to dance naked in front of some new hires, causing HR to fire him the next day. Apparently, after losing his home and everything he owned, he met God, who granted him these insane powers. The Homeless Emperor now sees the whole world as his home, and he's going to protect it from humanity by murdering them all. Talk about hardcore. Meanwhile, Saitama can feel the devastation around him and just hopes that his apartment makes it out unscathed. Amai Mask is still searching around, intending to clear the entire hideout of monsters before moving on. Eventually, he finds the room where they refine the monster cells from King Orochi, resolving to destroy everything and stop the further production of monsters. From the wreckage, though, emerges another executive of the association, who is the worst match possible for Mask. Führer Ugly, an unbelievably ugly-looking man, has Mask frozen in fear, unable to fight back. On a floor above, Pig God is seen eating another monster whole, before Gums, a superior threat, eats him whole. Pig God somehow fights his way out, though, and the two begin to battle. Things are about to get really intense, but before that, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel. We love bringing you awesome anime content, so make sure not to miss it by ringing the bell too. Puri Puri Prisoner emerges from one of the walls he was swimming through, finding a small room where a man is chained up to the walls. He ends up waking up Goro, who's now undergone another evolution since his near-death experience fighting Orochi. It only takes a few hits for him to devastate Prisoner, breaking himself free as his body has now turned all black except for his eyes. Everything is about to go from bad to worse for the Hero Association. Flashy Flash is deep below when he suddenly senses a massive power coming through the hallway towards him. Turns out it's Saitama and not a monster.
You're bald? No, I'm not bald!
Doesn't stop Flash from getting curious and attacking him. Saitama dodges easily though, and while Flash has some inner turmoil about his desire to fight the bald guy, he has to resist. He and Saitama set off toward the other end of the hideout, with Flash in disbelief that he can actually keep up with his speed. Child Emperor stumbles upon the beaten samurai apprentices entering their fight against Living Water and Dr. Fish. He manages to freeze the water, but it doesn't last long. At some point, Hydro Jellyfish somehow finds his way in again, offering to help in return for revenge on Child Emperor. Instead, it absorbs him, growing even more powerful. Scene shift yet again. and Genos is hauling ass deeper into the Monster Association, trying to catch up with Saitama and looking over Drive Knight's data. Catching up with Saitama might be a little hard though, because he and Flashy Flash are, unfortunately, both idiots. They just keep running in circles. Tornado, meanwhile, is pulling the real body of Goro out of the rubble, making sure that every remnant is dead. Goro thinks that maybe Pochi can come save him, helping him out of this situation. Unfortunately, Pochi has been taken down by Bang, Bomb, and Blizzard. Not by actually beating it down, but by telling it to sit and stay. Turns out, Pochi is just a good boy. Somehow, Saitama and Flashy have found a minecart and kidnapped a monster to help guide them around on it. They keep him safe though, and kind of earn his respect in the process, despite blowing away every other monster they come across. Another monster appears, named Psychos, who feasts on the monster cells left behind by Goro, growing incredibly strong. Tornado clashes with her, finding her power tested. In another area, Darkshine and Garou end up meeting, with Goro doing a hell of a lot of damage thanks to his newest upgrades. Darkshine actually seems outmatched, as his ultimate move is countered perfectly by Goro, who now seems to have broken his limiter, much like Saitama did a long time ago. The fight between Tornado and Psychos ends up breaking through the floor below them, uniting Tornado with Saitama as they continue their fight. There are so many things going on at once. It's a miracle this hideout is still underground. In some good news, Tario manages to find King, running towards him in relief that the hero will save him. That gets the King engine rumbling again too, and he shouts at the kid just like he did the Waganma mimic, believing it was a similar situation. Lo and behold, there was an invisible monster behind Tario, trying to make a sneak attack on the hero. Instead, it runs away in fear, not realizing King had no freaking idea it was ever there. He and Tario begin to walk away, trying to find their way out. As the invisible monster runs away, he's suddenly eaten alive by Orochi's heart, still barely hanging on to life.
What the fuck, bro?
Turns out he can eat other monsters to regenerate, and sensing the massive power of Psychos and Tornado, goes in their direction for a good meal. His power lets him revive some of the dragon heads scattered around where they're fighting, blasting them and causing Tornado to let go of Psychos.
What the fuck are you doing?
Orochi seizes his chance, grabbing Psychos as the two attempt to absorb each other.
Smash.
Eventually, they begin to fuse instead as Psychos fights Tornado, focusing on the enemy at hand. She eventually develops a new power in the midst of battle, letting her take control of Tornado and wreak havoc for a short time before Saitama smashes a clump of Orochi's cells, causing their concentration to break. King radios in at just the right time, letting everyone else know that Tario is successfully out and safe. Tornado goes all out, letting her real power free. Goro is still taking on Darkshine in the tunnels of the hideout, with Goro even drawing blood, causing Darkshine to lose heart. His backstory reveals he was a lot like Saitama, just a normal person who decided to train, yet didn't achieve the same power. Now though, fear grips him like never before, making him realize he could die here. Goro stops fighting when Darkshine begins to cry and cower in fear, realizing he wants to fight, not just bully. Meanwhile, Tornado has found everyone in the hideout still, surrounding them in a barrier and pulling them out as she lifts the entire hideout from the ground, lifting it high above City Z. Orochi and Psychos, still fused and fighting for control, come after her. Some of the heroes who Goro fought earlier end up seeing what happens, deciding to join the battle despite their still grievous injuries. Tank Top Master, Moomin Rider, and Metal Bat all take the fight back to the streets, helping civilians along the way. While the psychics fight up above, Psychoroki tells Tornado about how when she and Orochi were fighting for control, God appeared before them, offering them even greater power. She causes a tsunami by pulling a huge chunk of land up, threatening millions while doing no damage to Tornado still. Their fight rages on though. Even Genos ends up helping with this, unsure where Saitama may be. Blizzard ends up butting into her sister's fight, seeing that Tornado is having trouble. She ends up being the one to defeat Psychoroki, stopping their fusion. Things are looking like peace may be on the horizon, until Garo appears, now changed with his body undergoing another monstrous transformation. Everyone takes up defensive positions, though all the heroes are hilariously outmatched as Garo begins to take down some S ranks and even stronger monsters in his way. Despite Tareo running up to call him a hero, Garo even threatens to kill the child whom he once saved. Saitama suddenly appears, having just saved the child emperor from living water, and sees Garo, who he's been looking for. He wants to lodge a complaint about all the noise, telling the new monster off about how much damage he's caused. There's a showdown as Garo tries to attack Saitama, despite Tareo's pleas for him to be a hero instead. Saitama promises the kid he won't take a scratch, immediately beating Garo down, taking out yet another evolution of his monstrous form. Despite the constant beatdowns though, Garo keeps getting back up, discussing their ideologies and why he wants to become a monster. After so many beatdowns, it happens. Garo is finally transforming into an awakened form, his entire body becoming an abyss full of stars and cosmos. During his transformation, Garo meets God, though he doesn't show much reverence for the guy. Instead, he demands more power from him, which God gives with glee, knowing that Garo will become a destructive force he can control. Garo takes it though, not realizing that he's giving up himself in the process. All the heroes gather to try and fight him as he hits Saitama off into space, every hit doing the damage of a small nuclear bomb. After knocking Baldi so far back that he's got to fly through space to return, Garo falls back to Earth, addressing the gathering heroes now. He knows that Saitama is still holding back. Determined to get him to fight for real, Genos puts up an effort to fight him in Saitama's absence but is quickly devastated by Garo's attacks. Eventually, he takes hold of the demon cyborg's core, crushing it and killing him. Saitama returns along with a massive amount of nuclear fallout, which begins falling on everyone around, causing radiation to quickly kill many of the heroes and humans standing around, including young Tareo. Garo seems not to care though, paying no mind and only demanding more of a fight. Blast, the S-rank hero, even appears to try and intervene, telling Garo that he's being controlled by God and that he can take him to a pocket dimension while they figure out how to fix this. He refuses though, deciding instead to continue his fight with Saitama. Meanwhile, Saitama has been seeing his colleagues fall from radiation around him, with Bang being the last one to go. Garo reveals a new power, Saitama's face appearing over the void of stars in his head, and they level a serious punch at each other. Blast realizes they'll destroy the entire planet with their collision, opening a dimensional portal that sends them both far into Earth's atmosphere. The attack does massive damage to everything around still, with the two fighting through space as their attacks create small supernovas. Garo even figures out a way to open his own portals, landing multiple serious attacks on Saitama in the process. The two land on Jupiter's moon, using it as their final battleground. They trade blows, with Garo constantly growing throughout the battle. His only issue is Saitama is doing the same thing. Finally, with an opponent that can keep him on his toes, Saitama has found new growth with his powers, developing more intense strength and speed as they've moved through space. Eventually, they destroy the moon they're on, the cold void of space making Saitama sneeze so hard he even blows Jupiter away. Garo makes a last-ditch Hail Mary to defeat the Bald Cape, opening a portal just before punching him and falling back toward Earth. To his surprise, Saitama follows him through the portal thanks to a well-timed fart, delivering a major hit to Garo, breaking his Saitama mode that's been carrying the fight. They both stop, with Garo wondering why he won't just give up on the fight altogether. Saitama mentions it was Tareo's last request to stop Garo, and that he's a hero. Realizing he killed the child, Garo finally sees Tareo's body mangled by radiation, lamenting that it was he who did it. He realizes he'll never defeat Saitama and has become the villain he so desperately hated in the beginning. Instead, he realizes that Saitama is what's needed instead of his own absolute evil, and develops a new plan. Using his cosmic powers, Garo transfers a special technique to Saitama, breaking down his body as God tries to steal his power back. Instead, Garo keeps at it, warning Saitama that only he can defeat the future that's come to pass. Saitama is still holding Genos' broken core, which Garo uses to send him back in time to before he became the cosmic being. Now back in the main timeline, Garo has just turned into the awakened form, yet to spread the radiation impact everywhere or kill any other heroes. Saitama appears, knocking him to the ground with a punch that rocks his entire world and ends the fight with one punch once more, as things should be. Goro, in the alternate timeline, meanwhile, is finally defeated, the cosmic power being absorbed into an empty void. After the battle, the heroes attempt to apprehend Goro, but Saitama prevents it, making time for Bang to let the young man run loose. When asked why, Saitama mentions that he believes Goro could become a hero as well. Bang gives him a good beating as a punishment, but by the end, Goro leaves with a new hope for his future. The heroes have a lot to clean up now. With the Monster Association defeated and Goro on the run again, they'll have their hands full with repairing everything. Thankfully, City Z and the hideout itself were already a major ghost town. Then comes the other problem. After all that, Saitama's attempts at getting his little apartment to be a cozy space again ended up destroying it. Now he's going to face an even more challenging adventure, having neighbors again when he moves into the Hero Association HQ. That brings the Monster Association arc of One Punch Man to an end. Their newest enemy, God, is someone that Blast and other Neo heroes have been fighting for some time apparently, but will they let the others in on the secret? If you want more One Punch Man content covering later arcs as they unfold, be sure to follow for more.
Kaido.